Hi everyone, it's Will here. Recently I had the chance to drive the all-new redesigned 2025 Nissan Kicks. Now, I write about cars for a Chinese-Canadian luxury lifestyle magazine. It's called Elite Chen, and so I normally drive premium vehicles, but I decided to drive this Nissan Kicks for myself because I also do automotive training writing for a couple of OEM clients, and I had to do a project recently where I compared a bunch of subcompact SUVs, and I noticed that this new Kicks stood out very nicely against its competitors because it was very well equipped, and so I wanted to drive and check it out for myself. One of the biggest criticisms about the Kicks from the previous generation was that it was relatively underpowered. So Nissan improved this version with a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine. It produces 141 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. So it is an improvement, but I think it's par for the course for this segment that you have to really give it hard revs if you want to get up to speed with traffic. And unfortunately, you still have to time your lane changes sometimes, but with this engine, it is an improvement, but you still do have to live in the 3,000 to 5,000 RPM rev range to get any kind of noticeable thrust. So, you know, if power is not an important aspect for you in terms of your purchase considerations, then you know, this vehicle produces more than enough power. But it otherwise drives very, very well. The engine is very smooth. The other good thing too is that so even though it has a CVT transmission, a lot of people don't like the CVT transmissions. This one is tuned very, very well in my opinion. So when you're accelerating, the revs do build up and then it goes down too. It kind of feels like an upshift. So it's nice, and you know, the driving experience is more pleasant. And I find also that the handling is pretty good. So when you take it a little faster than you should on an on-ramp, on a curvy on-ramp, you do get some lean, but in no way does the vehicle feel like it's going to roll over or that you're going to lose control. So the body is pretty rigid and the steering is relatively responsive, which is nice. So the handling aspect is pretty good. Now, the only thing I find is that the road noise is quite high. Which is kind of strange because it has pretty good all-season stock tires. So I think they're Bridgestone Alenza tires, so it's a pretty good brand. And I think it might just be a soundproofing issue because I do notice that inside the wheel wells there's a lot of exposed metal. So you know, again, just a minor thing. The ride is a little bit loud, but I'm used to driving quieter vehicles, so it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. I just wanted to point it out. But driving experience is very good, and the interior is very, very nice too. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the interior design later in this video. Just go through a couple of good features and other features that I think can use some improvement. And what else? I think in terms of driving, if you look behind me, there's the headrests. They do get in the way. They don't fold down, unfortunately. So your rear view mirror view is somewhat blocked a little bit when you're driving, unless you have the seats folded down like I have there. One side of the seats are folded down, as you can see. But there's a lot of good reviews on this vehicle already out there on YouTube. I'm not going to go into all the basic details that other people have covered, but the purpose of this video is just to go into some of the nitty-gritty stuff, some of the not so obvious features that you might not find on the specs if you're looking online. And I want to point out some of the good design features and the areas where I think Nissan can improve on to help you if you're considering this vehicle. But I think overall, excellent vehicle, and I hope some of the stuff that I present will help you. So this new styling is a highlight. I think it looks really, really good. This color is called Kuzu Yellow Metallic, which I think goes well with the body design. And these wheels are exclusive to the SR Premium trim. I like them. They're 19 inches. It would have been nice for the fender finishers to be painted black. It's just a dull plastic there, unfortunately. But along the bottom here, you have this check pattern. And it looks like the Burberry check design, which I guess adds a little bit of premiumness to this vehicle's design. But the front end is very clean. It's actually very tall too. You got the triple beam headlights. There's actually 4 beams. The 4th beam is for the high beam, but you have this nice line that runs along the side of the body, which makes it look nicer. And then it kind of hikes up near the rear, and you can see that it's got wide shoulders, and all the detail just comes together very nicely. It's very cohesive. Would have been nice to have a nice exhaust finisher there. There's no exhaust finisher, but you do have a black roof, which I think contrasts well with this yellow. And I love this. There's Kicks embedded within the rear quarter there, which I think is neat. And then there's also Kicks stamped at the base of the exterior mirror. So I like these little Easter eggs, and it adds to the coolness of this vehicle. Another small detail I appreciate is the fact that the door hinges are nice and tight, so they don't just swing out in case you get a big gust of wind and you can hit another car. So this is one feature that I really liked. And this is how she looks at night. I'm parked under some fluorescent lights here, but even when you're not under lights, this color really stands out. So if you want to be noticed, this is the color to get. But it looks nice otherwise. The headlights perform very, very well. And you have all LED taillights in the back. And this is how she looks at night. And in the engine bay, there's a Kicks script here too. And since I showed the engine bay, here is me accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers. It's very slow. The CVT doesn't help. It takes over 12 seconds to get to 100 kilometers, and it's really not that fast, but I think it's par for the course in this class. But you can get some power by shifting it to B. Other good exterior features include wiper blades where you can just pull up without having to put it in service mode. And same for the rear too. It can be helpful when you're washing the vehicle or you're scraping ice off the glass. You also get a capless fuel filler, which is convenient. You won't lose a gas cap, but the weird thing is that this door doesn't lock. And these are how the LED turn signals look. This is for the front. And if we go to the back, that's how it looks. One other thing I noticed is how exposed the metal is within the fenders. So if you buy a vehicle like this, you definitely have to take it to a good rust proofer to oil spray it to protect it from rust. Even down here, it's all exposed metal. So we have to talk about the cargo area because it's a strength of this vehicle. It's got 676 liters, which is among the class leaders. And you have dual lights, which is really useful at night. You have this hook that allows you to hang bags, but I think the hooks can also be for a cargo net kit. But in any case, you have these anchors there. There's 4 total, so you get 2 more in this area. So these are little pits too, which can be helpful for securing small items. And if we lift up this carpet, there's more hidden storage compartments, which can be useful if you have little things you want to hide. But unfortunately, you don't get a spare tire. You only get a tire repair kit. So it is an available option, I believe, but most drivers, especially older drivers, tend to prefer a vehicle with a spare tire. So if you fold down the seats, you get 1,418 liters of space, and it doesn't sit perfectly flat, but it does provide more versatility. It would have been nice to have release latches in the cargo area to fold it down without having to go to the side doors. So let's move inside. So you get amazingly comfortable seats. They're actually really, really good. And you have this nice contrast stitching on the center console along with the side bolsters of the seats. They were really comfortable. And this is the view from the driver's seat. So you have a nice steering wheel. It's rather big in diameter, but the leather surfaces are very soft. And there's even a print here for you to hold the steering wheel like that when you're driving on a racetrack. And you have this nice red stitching that I think adds to the overall look and feel of the steering wheel. And it's a really nice interior overall, I must say. You get a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and it's very high resolution, so no visibility issues. You also get a 12.3-inch center screen. It's a touch screen. I don't like this little seam here. It's kind of weird, but the reason why they have that is because they angle the center screen towards the driver, which is meant to help with driving. So it's obviously not a deal breaker, but you have this nice soft touch material. It's got like a carbon fiber pattern, which is really nice. And it's a nice resting place too for you to put your hand when you're making selections on the screen, which by the way is very snappy, very high res. And I like that there's a knob still for controlling the volume and turning on or turning off the stereo. And there's those seek and skip buttons there too. So that's a nice ergonomic touch. Even here, soft touch surfaces on the dash too. You get this contrast stitching, and it's a soft touch on top of the door panels too. And you also get this same carbon fiber materials on the armrests, along with the contrast stitching, which I showed earlier. So it's a really, really nice design inside. They did a great job with the interior in terms of materials and overall look. So aside from having no small storage cubbies to hold little things in the first row, really the only beef I have with this interior is this climate control panel. So first of all, it's mounted really low on the dash, but the buttons are really small too. They're technically not buttons, they're haptic buttons. So when you touch them, they beep to let you know that it received an input. But people who shop in this segment, it's usually young people or empty nesters, so older adults. And these buttons being so small, it could be difficult for some people who don't have good fine motor skills. And they're not just small, but you're lacking two very important buttons. So there's no switch for the air conditioner, and there's no switch for the mode button, which allows you to change the direction of the airflow. So if you want to make any of those changes, what you have to do is you got to go on the screen, which means you got to take your eyes off the road. It's more effort than there needs to be. So you got to go in here and then you have to tap this. And this is where you get to select the direction of your airflow. You got to tap it again to get out of the screen. And if you want to turn on or turn off the AC, you just tap the button there. So not as user-friendly. It would have been nice to have those buttons on the panel. It would make a lot of sense. But back to more positives. So you don't have auto start stop, which is nice. And I like using the auto hold feature whenever I drive. And the one good thing about the design for the Kicks in terms of the auto hold feature is that if you press the button once, the vehicle will remember. Even if you turn off the engine and you turn it back on, it'll remember to have the auto hold feature activated. And same with the heated seats, which is really convenient, especially during winter. The drive mode toggle is also within easy reach. You have 3 modes: Eco, Normal, and Sport. The front passenger door panel has power door lock switches, which is nice. And even the power window switches are nice. There's this silver polished border on them that makes it look more premium. And if we go around here, you get one-touch up-down windows for all 4 doors, which is nice. And you get, obviously, your vanity mirror. This visor actually telescopes as well, which is nice. And if we open up the mirror, you have LED lighting, which is nice. So it's good for the ladies if they want to check up on themselves and their appearance. And another feature I really like too is the fact that aside from having LED lights overhead, you also get a sunglasses holder. Another strength of this Kicks is that it's loaded with a lot of active safety features, which makes it a good value versus other competitors that cost more. So you get a lot of convenience features too, like walk-away auto locks, so you don't have to worry about forgetting to lock the doors. And the center screen, if we can go back there, this is how the 360-degree camera looks. There's a button on the dash. You can press it multiple times to get different views. And it's fairly good resolution for this class of vehicle. But that overhead camera is really, really useful, especially when you're trying to park. So the front cup holders are in front of the armrest. And thankfully, they're deep. So if you have say a large Tim Hortons coffee, it won't get in the way. But if you have a really tall container, it can get in the way when you're trying to shift gears. Another interior highlight is a panoramic sunroof. So it's not just a regular sunroof, it actually extends farther back so the second row passengers can enjoy some skylight too. So here's the interior at night. You get this ambient lighting. Now, unfortunately, you're not able to choose from multiple colors, but you do have this strip of light that runs across the dash and into the front door panels. And this is how the rear camera looks at night. So the resolution is so-so, but again, for this class of vehicle, it's pretty good. And having that 360 camera is really, really useful. And as I mentioned earlier, the headlights don't just look good, but they perform very, very well at night. They light up the roads really well. And you even get a Eco Drive report. When you turn off the engine, it tells you your fuel consumption. And since I'm showing the dash at night, this is how it looks when you start up the car. And I also like that on the bottom right corner, it shows the speed in miles per hour too, even when you have the speed set to show you kilometers per hour in the main display. So let's hop into the second row. So weird thing, the roof there, you can hit your head really easily. So you got to be a little bit careful getting in. But once you're in, you get decent leg room. There's very good thigh support on the seat cushions. You have storage pockets behind both front seats. The center floor is reasonably flat, so the center passenger gets decent foot room, and there's 2 USB-C ports. And very comfortable, as I mentioned. Now, the door panel back here, that's hard plastic as opposed to the front, but that's par for the course for this segment. And the center armrest, you get 2 cup holders there. And I mentioned earlier, you get the panoramic sunroof that extends to the second row for passengers. What's great is that it doesn't take up a whole lot of space, so you still get decent headroom back here, along with lighting in case you need to turn it on, which is really good. The headroom is pretty decent. And you also get an adjustable headrest for the center passenger, which is nice. Okay, here's another design quirk that I think Nissan can improve on in future model years. The 12-volt power outlet is inside the storage compartment under the armrest. So there's not a lot of space in there to begin with, but if I want to use, say, for example, an inverter to power a laptop or something like that, even if I plug it in and it fits, it's not going to allow me much room to actually plug in my device. So this is not a very good design. They should put the 12-volt outlet on the center console with more space. And another quirk I noted is that when you start the engine, you have to hold down the brake pedal with your foot while holding down the button too. If you don't do that, the engine will stop cranking halfway, which is different from other vehicles.